Hello guys, welcome back to our video series on CSAT. So today we will be having our first lesson of the mathematics part of the CSAT exam. Okay, so we have covered two lessons on logical reasoning. One of the lesson is left. Okay, so we will be taking it up in the future. Now first let's start with one of the lesson of mathematics, and today we will be covering the topic of averages and percentage. Okay, these are very low hanging fruits in mathematics syllabus. Okay, low hanging fruits. This means that you can excel in these subjects, in these topics, even if your background is from humanities, okay, or even commerce. Okay, so if your background is not from science, okay, even then you can excel in these topics in averages and percentage. Okay, you just need to know the concept, and then you just have to practice, okay, some questions. Now let's start with averages first. So what is averages? Okay, averages we also call it mean. Okay, some questions will say you'll call it mean, some will call it average. Okay, so average is sum of numbers divided by count of the numbers. Okay, so if we are taking an average of, let's say, three numbers, okay, so we have to sum those numbers, and then we have to divide the count of those numbers. So here the count is 3, 1, 2 and 3, correct? So this will be the average. Okay, let's take an example. Let's say we are taking average of 6, 8. Okay, average of 6 and 8. Okay, so first we have to take the sum of the sum of the numbers. Okay, that will be 6 plus 8, and then we have to divide it by the count of those numbers. So the count is 2. There are two numbers of which we are taking the average, so it is 14 divided by 2, that is 7. Okay, so this is how we do. Let's say we don't have two numbers. Okay, we have, let's say, 6, 8, 10 and 12. Okay, let's take this. So there are four numbers now. Then what we will be doing is we will be adding 6 plus 8 plus 10 plus 12, and here our count will be 4 because there are four numbers. So our average will be the sum of these four numbers divided by 4 because the count of the numbers is 4. Okay, so this will come out to be 14 plus 24 plus 12, 36 divided by 4, that is 9. So the average of these four numbers is 9. Okay, this is how we calculate average. Okay, this is how we calculate average. Okay, now let's look at the PYQs of this concept. So first question, this is of 2022 CSAT paper. So it says that the average weight of A, B, C is 40 kg and the average weight of B, D, E is 42 kg. And third thing which is given to is the weight of F is equal to B. Now the question is asking us that what is the average weight of A, B, C, D, E and F. Okay, so while we are calculating these questions, while we are doing these questions, we will be using the help of, we will taking the help of symbols. Okay, so like if the questions talks about Ram and Raju, okay, so we can denote Ram by X and Raju by Y. Okay, so this is how we use variables. These are variables. Okay, we will use these numbers to denote, okay, people or certain quantities given in the question. Okay, so let's see this question. So what we are given is the average weight of A, B and C is 40. Okay, so let's represent A by A, small a, B by small b and C by small c. So the average weight of A, B and C, how we will write it? We will write it by like this: A plus B plus C and divide by 3 because the count is 3. This is the first statement which is given to us. Okay, so the first statement says A plus B plus C by 3 is equal to 40. Correct? With this, we can just say that A plus B plus C is equal to 120 because if we take 3 here, 40 into 3 will become 120. So A plus B plus C is 120. Okay. Now the second statement says that the average weight of B, D, E is 42 kgs. Okay. So the second statement here, okay, if we take this as the second statement, so the second statement says B plus D plus E. Okay. The average weight of this the average weight will be written like this. Okay, this is equal to 42. Okay, so now what can we say through this? That B plus D plus E is equal to 126. Right or wrong? Correct. We can take 3 here. 42 into 3 is 126. So this is the second statement. This is what we got from the second statement. And the third statement says that weight of F is equal to weight of B. Okay, so third statement just says that weight of F is equal to weight of B. Okay, so these three things we have got the from the statements which are given in the question. Okay, so if we erase the non-essential part, so first is this: A plus B plus C is 120. Okay, second is B plus D plus E is equal to 126, and third is F is equal to B. Okay, now what the question is asking from us? The question is saying that we have to calculate what is the average weight of A, B, C, D, E and F. Okay, so we have to find the average weight of all these six things. So the formula for calculating the average weights of A, B, C, D, E and F is A plus B plus C plus D plus E plus F. That has to be divided by 6, because now we are taking 6 quantities here. Okay, so the average weight of 6 quantities, we have to take the count in the denominator, so this will be 6 here. Okay, now A plus B plus C we know, because A plus B plus C is 120 through the first statement. So the A plus B plus C part we can write as 120. Now we want to know D plus E plus F. Do we know that D plus E plus F? We don't know D plus E plus F, but we know B plus D plus E. Okay, but the third statement says that F is equal to B. So here, rather than writing B, we can write F. Can't we write this F as F? Surely we can write it, because B is equal to F. Okay, this is the first statement, this is the second statement, and this is the third statement. Okay, so F plus D plus E, or D plus E plus F. Okay, F plus D plus E is same as D plus E plus F. So we know D, we want to get D plus E plus F, and it is given to us here. So it can be written as 120 plus 126 divided by 6. Correct. Now we have to sum this 246 by 6. This is 41. Okay, so the answer is C, 41. Okay, this was a simple question. You just have to use the three statements which are given in the question. You must know the formula for average, which is quite easy. We have to just sum the quantities and divide them by the count of these quantities. Okay, so here A plus B by 3, A plus B plus C by 3 is equal to 40 was the average, and this gave us this statement. Okay, this outcome. Okay, then we had B plus D plus E by 3 is equal to 42, and through this we got B plus D plus E is equal to 126. Okay, and this statement got us F is equal to B. Okay, F is equal to B. So from this we could get the second part, okay, which was required. Okay, this second part while we were calculating the average. Okay, so I hope you would have understood it. It was quite an easy question. Okay, it was quite a scoring question. Okay, now let's look at a second question. Okay, it will be similar to these question. Okay, to the previous question. The questions which are asked in this topic are quite similar. Okay, you just have to practice 8 to 10 questions. You will get the grasp of what is being asked. Okay, and then you just have to apply your mind. Okay, now in this question, this was asked in 2020. So it says that the average score of a batsman after his 50th innings was 46.4. Okay, so the average score of a batsman after he has played 50 innings, okay, that was 46.4. Now what does this first statement means? Okay, what does this first statement means? This says that if we sum of the scores in first 50 innings, if we add these, okay, if we add this and divide it by the count, how many innings are there in the first 50 innings? Of course there are 50 innings. Then this will be equal to 46.4. Correct. Now after 60th innings, his average score increases by 2.6. Okay, first we are talking about first 50 innings, then the batsman again plays 10 more innings, and after that these 60 innings, his score, average score increases by 2.6. Okay, so earlier it was 46.4, now it would have become 46.4 plus 2.6, 49. Okay, okay. So we can write this sum of the sum of scores in first 50 innings. Okay, like this. Okay, I just told you that we will be using a symbol, using symbols a lot. Okay, so we can write this, the formula for averages, as S1. This is the first inning, the score in the first innings, as S2 plus S3, and like it goes on till S50. Correct? This goes on till S50, and this we know is equal to 46.4. Okay, this is the statement 1. Okay, now let's come to the statement 2. The statement 2 says that the score, the average of first 60 innings, this is S1 plus S2. Similarly, we go till S50, but we don't stop here. We go further down till S60. Okay, so if we take the average of these 60 innings, then it will be 49. Correct? Okay, okay, correct. Now what is the question asking us to calculate? It is asking us to calculate the average score in the last 10 innings. Okay, last 10 innings. Okay, so average score of the last 10 innings would be, we have to just sum the innings, sum the scores in the innings, like S51, S52 till S60, and then we have to divide it by 10. This is the demand of the question. Question wants us to calculate this. Okay, so now how can we calculate this? Okay, first we have to know the sum of the scores in these 10 innings from 51 to 60. Okay, we can calculate using the second expression. Okay, if we remove 60 from here, and we write 60 as here, okay, then the sum of first 60 innings we get. Okay, but we want just this expression. This expression we can find out if we know the scores of these, and these can be easily calculated using the first expression. Correct? So this can be done if we do 46.4 into 50. Correct? So the scores of these innings, okay, these first 51, 52, the last 10 innings will be, how much it will be? 49 into 60 minus 46.4 into 50. Correct? This will help us in calculating the total of the scores of the last 10 innings. And what do we get if we calculate this? Okay, you have to be fast with your calculations, and this can only be done if you are practicing a lot. Okay, if you are practicing a lot with paper and pen. Okay, you don't have to do it in your mind, you have to use a paper and pen. Only then you will get sharp in this. Okay, so the answer is 620 here. So the sum of scores in the last 10 innings is 620. So what is the average? Average will be S51, S52. We have to go till S60, and then we have to divide it by 10, because we are taking the average of 10 innings. So the count of the 10 innings is, of course, 10. Okay, so this is 620 by 10, and that is 62. Correct? This is 62. So answer C is right. Okay, so here we use the two statements, okay, and just played with them. Okay, we took the denominator, okay, the denominator, which here the denominator was 50, and we took it on that side and multiplied it by the average. Okay, and again here also we took the denominator from the left hand side and we took it to the right hand side and multiplied it with the average, that was 49. Okay, so we did this. Okay, and through this we calculated the sums of the scores in the innings, which are the last 10. Okay, so this is the method of doing such questions. Okay, now let's take a tricky one. Okay, here the question does not ask you directly. Okay, it does not convey you the information directly, and wants you to apply your mind and apply your common sense. Okay, now there are two classes. Let's say there is a class A and then there is a class B. Okay, then in class A, Okay, in class A there are 25 students, and in class B there are 30 students. In class A, the highest score is 21 and the lowest score is 17. Okay, and in class B the highest score is 30 and the lowest score is 22. Now what happens is four students are shifted from A to B, and we are asked that what will happen with the averages of class B and class A. Okay, so initially, okay, when these four students were not shifted, what was the formula of calculating the averages? Okay, it will be in the numerator we will take the sum of the scores of the students of class A divided by the number of students in class A, that will be 25. Okay, this will be the average for A. Okay, so let's say we are given that there are 25 students here in class A, and the highest score is 21 and the lowest is 17. Okay, so when we will find the average, when we will sum the scores for calculating the average, we will take the highest first, then the next highest, then next highest, then next highest, and this will go on and on till 23 numbers, and then the last one 17, which is the lowest one, will come. Correct? This will how this will be the way of summing the scores for class A and then dividing by 25. We will take the highest score first, then the second highest, then third highest, then fourth highest. Okay, in this order we are taking the scores, and then comes the least score of class A. Okay, now initially for class B we will do it in a similar manner. The highest score, which is 30, will come first, then for second score, third score, and accordingly 28 scores will come, and then the least one, 22. This will be divided by how much? 30, because there are 30 students here. Okay, now four students are shifted from A to B. Okay, and we are given two statements. Okay, and we have to find which one will be correct and which one will be false. First is the average score of class B will definitely decrease. Okay, the average score of class B will definitely decrease. Now people from A are moving to B. People from A are moving to B, and as a result some more scores will be added. Four more scores will be added here. Correct? Four more scores will be added, and this will become 34. But just tell me, these four scores will be, of course, lower than 22. Correct? These will be lower than 22. Here will be something like, let's say 21 is the one which is added. Now something less than 21, then something less than 21, and something another thing which is less than 21. So all these four things are less than 22. Okay, less than 22. Now to give you an example, let's say you run. Okay, you like running and you run 10 kilometers one day, 20 kilometers one day, and 30 kilometers the second day. Your average is going good, that is 20 now. Okay, now let's say you run for another 2 days, and on these days the average was, sorry, the mileage, the amount of kilometer you ran was 2 kilometers and 5 kilometers. Then in the second scenario, of course your average will go down. It was 20 initially, now it will be very less than 20. It will be around, let's say this is also 5. Okay, this will become 14. Your average will decrease from 20 to 14. You can easily calculate that. Okay, 10 plus 20 plus 30, 60, plus 10, 70, divide by 5, that will be 14. So your average has dropped down if you add values which are lower than the first three values here. And similarly here, when we add four values which are less than the first 30 values here, of course the average will go down. Of course the average will go down. So the average score of class B will definitely decrease. This is correct. It will of course decrease. Now we are asked to consider the average score of class A. What will happen to the average score of class A? Okay, now four students are removed from class A. Okay, now let's say four students are removed from class A. Let's say we take this example only, and let's say we represent A by the final expression here. Okay, you ran this amount of mileage. Okay, 10, 20, 35, 5. Okay, now if you removed these mileages, this your these mileages, then your average will increase from 40 to 20. Correct? So if we remove the lower averages, okay, the lower scores in this average, the lower scores in the average of A, like 17, like 18, then we will increase the average, increase the average. But in the second scenario, let's say we don't we don't remove the lower order ones, we remove 10 and 20 here. Okay, then what will happen to the average? It will decrease. Correct? It will decrease. Let's say we removed 20 and 30, we remove the largest ones here. Then what will happen to the average? It will become 20 by 3 something, which is 6.67. It has decreased from 14 to 6.67. So if you remove the higher scores and give it to B, if you remove the higher score students, okay, if we shift the students who have scored the higher scores, like 21, like 20, like 18, in that scenario, it will decrease the average. So we cannot say definitely whether A will increase or it will decrease. It will increase if we delete the lower scores, if we take the students who performed poorly and then shift them to class B. In second scenario, if we remove the 4 students who performed very good and remove them to class B, then the average of class A will decrease. Okay, so we can't say anything definitely because it is asking us to say definitely. If it was written can increase, then yes, there is a possibility of it increasing. But here we are asking it whether there is confirmed possibility that it will increase. So no, there is no such confirmed possibility. So A is the right answer. So this was a tricky question. The formula used was similar. The concept used was similar. It was asked from you. It was expected from you to apply your mind to look at some instances, at some scenarios where where possibility was in some direction, like of increasing the average, and the possibility was in the second direction, that is decreasing the average. Okay, so for B there was only one possibility, that the average will decrease. For A we were not sure, there can be two possibilities. Okay, so this was a trickier question. Okay, the main part is solving such a question in exam like conditions. Okay, in exam like conditions you don't have the luxury of time, you just have got 2 hours for 80 questions. Okay, you can do such questions quite fast only if you practice enough. Okay, if you practice enough. Now let's talk about percentages. Okay, percentages. When we say y is 50% of x, okay, 50% here means, when we say percent, we say 50 by 100. Okay, so the expression y is 50% of x means that y is equal to 50 by 100 of x. Okay, so if we if x denotes 100 parts, if x denotes 100 parts, then we are just taking 50 parts of the x. Okay, we are taking half of x here. Okay, half of x here. The second statement says y is 5% of x. This means y is equal to 5% of x, and this can be written as 5 upon 100 of x. Okay, 5 upon 100 of x. This can be written as 1 by 20 of x. So if x was, let's say, a cake which had 20 parts, which was cut into 20 parts. Okay, let's say x was a cake, we cut it in 20 parts. Okay, then y is one of those 20 parts. Y is one of those 20 parts. Okay, so y is one of those 20 parts. Okay, in similar manner, if x was a cake and it was cut in 100 parts, then y represents 5 parts. Okay, 5 parts of that cake which was cut in 100 parts. Okay, and in percentages term it is 5% of x. Okay, here if x is cut into 100 parts, then y represents the 50 parts. Okay, and if we just simplify this, it can be written as half into x. So this means if x is cut into 2 parts, then y is 1 part, so y is half of x. Okay, this is very easy, and this is would be clear to you. Now let's look at the third one. Y is 5% more than x. This means that y is x and it is something more than x, which is 5% of x. Y is 5% more than x. Okay. Y is x and then something more of x, which can be written as 5 by 100 into x. Okay. And this can be plus. Okay. This can be added through easy addition of fractions, and this will be 105 into x. Simplifying, we will get 21 by 20 of x. Okay. This is easy maths. Okay. Now let's look at questions of percentages. Let's look at this one which came in 2022. Okay, this is fairly easy one. Okay, so first statement says that when 70% of a number x is added to another number y, the sum becomes 165% of the value of y. So to write in mathematical terms, this statement says that if 70% of x is added to another number y, then the sum becomes 165% of y. Correct? We can also write it as 70 by 100 of x plus y is equal to 165 by 100 of y. Correct? Now here also we have y, here also we have y. We can take y here. Okay. So 70 by 100 of x is equal to 165 by 100 of y minus y. And this can be written as 65 by 100 of y. Okay, this is easy subtraction of fractions. Okay, 70 by 100 of x is equal to 65 by 100 of y. Okay, now this can be simplified as like this. Okay, so we have 70 by 100 of x is equal to 65 by 100 of y. Okay, if we let's take this. Okay, let's remain at this. So this is what we get from statement 1. Okay, this we get from statement 1. Okay, so now let's look at the statement 2. Okay, what statement 2 says? Statement 2 says that when 60% of y is 60% of x, sorry, is added to another number, say z, and 60% of x is added to z, then the sum becomes 165% of the value of z. Okay, so if we simplify it similarly, we will get 60 by 100 of x, and we have to plus z, but we can take z there. Okay, to the right hand side, which we just saw, which we just did for the first part, and then this will be 6500 upon z into z. Okay, so this is the second statement. Now it is asking us the relationship between x, y, and z. Okay, x, y, and z. It is asking us that which one of these is the largest, which one comes in the middle, and which one is the lowest or the least of these. Okay, so using these we can the find the relationship between them. Okay, if we take the reciprocal, if we take y here and 70 by 100 here, okay, what we will get? Let's see. XYY will be equal to 65 upon 70, because 100 and 100 will be cutting each other. 65 by 70. So 65 by 70 is something which is less than 1. Okay, if we divide x by y, we get something less than 1. So logically, x should be less than y. Okay. Okay. Because let's take two numbers. Okay, let's take x as 4 and let's say y is 3. Then if we divide these, we will get something which is greater than 1. So we should have x as lower than y, as x as less than y. Okay, so this is the first outcome, that x should be less than y. Okay, so let's analyze the statements. Okay, let's analyze the options with this finding that x is less than y. So here x is greater than y, this is wrong. Here x is greater than y, this is wrong. So we are left with B and A statements. Okay, Now let's look at the second statement. What does this say? It says, if you take z here, x by z will be equal to 65 by 60. So 65 by 60 is greater than 1. Okay, so this means x will be greater than z. X will be greater than z. Okay, so y is greater than x and x is greater than z. So here in the second statement, x is lower than z. Okay, z is greater than y and z is also greater than x. So this is wrong. Z is less than x and x is less than y. Okay, so A is the right option. Okay, so we got two statements. We solved them through our knowledge of percentage. We did some very simple mathematics. Okay, we just took the value of the division. Okay, we just used the knowledge that if we divide something which is bigger with something which is less. Okay, if we divide some value and the numerator is larger than denominator, then we will get greater than 1 as an answer. And if we take numerator as smaller than denominator, then we will get the answer as less than 1. Okay, so this simply was the case. So the first statement told us x is less than y and second statement told us x is greater than z. Okay, and the A option was the only option which clearly provided us this relationship. Okay, now let's look at the last question of the day, and this is from 2022, and this asks us that there is an increase in the price of a certain item by the increase in the price of a certain item was 25%. So there was a price of certain item initially and that price increased by 25%. Then what happened was the price decreased by 20%. And then again it increased by 10%. Okay, so three things happened. First, the price increased by 25%. Then the price decreased by 20%. And then the third thing happened, that price increased by 10%. Now we are asked that what is the resultant increase in the price. Okay, we are given that there is increase in the price. We have to calculate that how much is the increase in the price, okay, from the initial position. In these type of questions, whenever you see these type of questions, take the initial price as 100 for simplifying your calculations. Okay, let's say the initial price was 100. This makes your calculations very simple. Okay, now in the first statement what happened was the price increase was 25%. Okay, so let's say this is initial price. Okay, pi. Okay, pi. Okay, now we have to know p1. Okay, which was the first price which we got after the initial increase of 25%. So p1 will be initial price plus a 25% increase of in pi. Correct? 25% increase in pi. So pi is 100 and 25% of 100 is 25. So p1 is 125. So due to the initial increase, due to the first increase or the first statement, our price moved from 100 to 125. Okay, now let's see what happens in the B circumstance. Okay, let's see what happens with the B circumstance. Now it is given that our price has decreased by 20%. Okay, so here we will calculate P2. Okay, P2, and the price has decreased by 20%. So P2 will be P1 minus 20% of P1. Correct? 20% of P1. This will be 125 minus 20 upon 100 of 125. Okay, if we solve this, it will become 1 by 5 and 25. Okay, so 125 minus 25, this is again 100. Okay, so this was something exceptional which we just witnessed. So when we increased the price by 25% and then decreased it by 20%, we got again 100. We again got the initial price. We moved 0 from the initial stage. Our movement from the initial stage was 0. Okay, rather than having something like this, that we increased the price by 25% and then decreased it by 25% and then getting the initial value, we got when we increased the value by 25% and then when we decreased the value by 20%, our we again return to the initial value. Okay, now let's see what happens in the third stage, that the price again is increased by 10%. So surely the resultant increase would be 10% because the first and the second statement have cancelled each other. Okay, first and second statement have cancelled each other. Now P2 is also equal to Pi, which is 100. Now let's say what happens in the third statement. Okay, let's see what happens in the third statement. We will see it quite easily mathematically. So we will get P3 here. So P3 was P2 plus 10% of P2. P2 is 100 and 10% of 100 is 10. So 110. So from initial stage, which is 100, we have moved to 110. And this represents 10% increase. Okay. This represents an increase of 10, which is 10% of PI, which is 10% of the initial value. So the answer is B. PI, sorry, 10%. Okay, the answer is B, 10%. Okay, so moving to the last question of the day. Okay, so we are asked P scored 40 marks more than Q in an examination. If Q scored 10% less marks than P, then how much did Q score? Okay, so this is very simple question. So first statement says that P scored 40 marks more than Q. Okay, so P's marks, let's say we represented by P, is Q's marks plus 40. Correct? This is the meaning of the first statement. Second statement says that if Q scored 10% less marks than P, okay, if Q scored 10% less than marks than P, okay, Q has scored P minus 10% of P, okay, then how much did Q score? So this statement, okay, this is something which is provided us by the first statement, and let's see what second statement tells us. This is P minus 10 upon 100 into P. Okay, 0 can go here. It will be reduced to 1 by 10 into P, and this we can write as 9 by 10 into P. Okay, so we have got a relationship between Q and P. Q is equal to 9 by 10 of P. This is the second statement. Okay, this is the result of the second statement. Now we have to find Q. Okay, we have to find Q. If we use the second statement and use this value of Q and replace the Q with this value, we will be easily solve one of the variable. Okay, statement 1 will become this, and if we take this here, then P by 10 is equal to 40. So P will become 400. Okay, and naturally Q will become P minus 40, that is 360. So the answer here is 360. Okay, so you just have to interpret the statements. You have to be right about your English. Okay, you must interpret the statements right. Okay, and then the next part was quite easy. Okay, so these were the questions we practiced together for these two concepts, averages and percentages. Now I have also given you some questions to try on your own. Okay, this is about average. Okay, this is fairly easy one if you have understood our previous questions. Okay, this is also quite easy. Okay, this is about averages. Again, an average question. Okay, the third question. Fourth question, this is similar to the one which we solved, okay, earlier. If the price of an article is decreased by 20% and then new price is increased by 25%, then what is the net change in the price? Okay, and lastly, this is a little bit trickier question. I want you to apply yourself and give yourself time. Okay, give 15, at least 15 to 20 minutes, okay, of your time. Try to solve it, try to understand what the question is demanding from you, okay, and try to apply yourself. So we have covered the topics of averages and percentages. Okay, these are some low hanging fruits. Please practice the questions from these topics. Okay, first of all, practice the homework assignment for this, and then later on you can try the PYQs for these two topics. These are low hanging fruits. These can fetch you good marks in the math section, especially for humanities students. Okay, so that was all from my side. I hope you enjoyed the lesson. Thanks a lot.